Mi'kmaq, we say, Gesalu. We love you. Water. Walalin, we thank you. Get me Delmo. We respect you.
Today is really about celebrating. It's really about, in the education of what's happening on the planet, to not get hopeless, to not get, to feel it all, but also remember that there's hope. There's hope in coming together. There's hope in envisioning what's possible. Global Water Dances is a global initiative. So you're part of the momentum, a wave of dances, wave of people around the globe. Over 100 cities are gathering like we are to have this conversation. The seed thought that is carried across the globe is clean water for everyone, everywhere.
This film is about a journey, an event, a project, and about 3 of the women who make it happen. It is a story of local and global concerns and actions, a story about water and how we must care for it, and a story about dance, the power of dance to call us to action. The Global Water Dances event happens every 2 years, usually on a single day in June, but the event is only part of the story.
It was probably a little dangerous. We had just finished 2 weeks at an ecology education retreat. I was with my fellow teachers and my students, and all of a sudden the clouds burst open and there was this huge rainstorm. I remember all of us being outside in a field, just dancing and singing and laughing in the rain. We were mostly Black and Spanish speaking and all from New York City. And it was before we were indoctrinated with this idea that being out in nature and being one with nature was something white. I have this image in my head of all of us completely drenched and smiling. I keep trying to find that feeling again, that being one and wild with nature.
Natasha Al-Hadef Jones, born and raised in Brooklyn, is now living in Geneva, Switzerland, working for Global Water Dances, an organization that's helping others around the world, both dancers and local citizens, adults and children, to find that wide and deep joy through dance, inspired by the precious gift of our planet of water. Invited by Martha Eddy, one of the founders of Global Water Dances, to assist in the organization of Global Water Dances sites in New York, in 2011, Natasha found herself in another group of wild and free dancers, celebrating water.
We're going to share in a larger movement dance, and at the end of that, we'd love you to think about your intention for water, what you might do to recycle, what you might do to use water more frugally, to live with temperature change without having to put on the AC all the time, all those little things we can do.
Some years later, she joined Lynn Newman, Brooklyn-based artistic director of Artichoke Dance Company, in a 2017 production of a Global Water Dances event along and in the Gowanus Canal.
Part of Global Water Dances, so there are dances happening all over in all sorts of cities and towns.
This is our Do One Thing board. People come and they choose one of the 3 things that they can do in their day-to-day lives to help keep water clean. And that's use less water when it rains, saying no to combined sewage overflow. You can pledge to use a refillable water bottle and say no to plastic bottles, or to bring your own reusable bag and to say no to plastic bags.
I pledge to say no to combined sewage overflow to stop pollution in water.
we're using performance as a way to engage people that is not threatening and also can provide an inroad into the work that we're doing in cultural shifting, which is to change behavior and to activate people towards creating the world really that they want to live in.
As an eco-artist, Ms. Newman also committed to raising awareness about the canal as being one of the United States' most contaminated bodies of water.
When I was 3, my parents took me to Niagara Falls. Of course, I wanted to be where all the action was, down at the bottom of the falls, where there was just this mad rush and whipping of the water around and around and around. So I wanted to take the Maid of the Mist trip across the falls to be in that excitement. Well, they wouldn't let me do that. It was some years before I found my own special water place that wasn't influenced by grown-ups. It was a stream behind my grandfather's farm in central Wisconsin. It was a small stream, shallow, ran over sand, but it was clear and shimmering in the sunlight. It was just always such a joy and a consistent place of harmony.
In dynamic proof that dancing knows no age limits, Gretchen began to dance herself when she retired as an occupational therapist. She also became an activist, 2 activities that form the heart of global water dances. When Gretchen moved to Maryland from Manhattan in 1987, she organized a recycling program for her new community, fulfilling the dream of her 3-year-old self who wanted to become a garbage collector. In 2009, Gretchen helped form the steering committee of Global Water Dances, and in 2011, at the age of 75, she performed in an outdoor dance to highlight pollution problems with the Anacostia River.
The Anacostia River. We look at the water, we call it Lene, the one name. Because this water, the water in the Potomac, the water in the Chesapeake Bay, the water in the ocean, it is one body of water.
40 million pounds of trash get thrown into this river every year.
There are some things that you can see that you can help do and help encourage others to help do to protect our water, to make it cleaner and safer.
The current artistic director of Global Water Dances, Vanya Ibarguen, her connection to water begins with the place where she grew up, Lima, Peru, a city with a desert landscape side by side with the always cold Pacific, where she liked to wade and see the place where the sky and the water met.
Water was a big resource, but at the same time limited. I remember I had to move to another neighborhood with my family where water was very scarce. And I remember the trucks going up to the hill and delivering the water to people who will form big lines in order to get some water for cooking and cleaning. When I did my first Global Water Dances in 2011 as a choreographer, I was reminded of having vast amount of water in front of you that you can not drink. This idea of being close at the same time far from the water.
Nube hacia arriba, lluvia hacia abajo, agua hacia adentro y olas hacia afuera.
Like rivers converging, these 3 extraordinary women have come together, with so many others, to share what they love, the joy of dance and the dance of water, in cities from Lima to Lagos. At the moment, Vanya lives in Long Beach, California, Natasha is in Geneva, Switzerland, and Gretchen is outside Washington, D.C. But their love of dance unites them, as dance itself is a way of connecting communities that are miles and miles apart.
conference at Schumacher College in 2008. 12 of us assembled there. Schumacher is a college and a retreat center in Totnes, Devon, in England. It was named for E.F. Schumacher, who wrote the seminal book, Small is Beautiful. We spent 3 days talking about Rudolf Laban and ecosystems, and it rained every day. We would go out there in the rain and dance with the trees and the vines and with each other. Really, it was there that we heard about Mary Lee Hardenberg's One River, Mississippi.
This is a nationwide chord being sung from Itasca State Park down to the New Orleans.
The One River, Mississippi project entailed 7 sites all along the Mississippi River, from the headwaters all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico. And at exactly the same moment, the 7 radio stations played the same music and everyone danced together at the same moment. And the idea was to draw attention to the whole length of the river, not just this one part that you look out and you say, oh, there's the Mississippi River. It's the whole length of the river at the same moment. My first intention is to create beauty there. And I feel that beauty in and of itself is a healing thing. And people feel in their hearts different toward the site when they come to the performance.
It represented this tremendous force and influence that happened at the same time, at the same moment for the river. At Schumacher, we began to think that water could be the element that could unify us in this project that we wanted to do. So that was really how it happened.
I am thinking about another possible origin story that's close and dear to my heart about Ascona, Switzerland. I moved to Switzerland, and one of the first things I wanted to do was take a pilgrimage of sorts to see where Laban started his theorizing about space harmony and movement choirs. It was impressive. It still moves me. There's something so moving and compelling about being in a dramatic natural setting that calls you to move, that calls you to be creative. And I can imagine Laban with his students and his colleagues dancing at the lake, looking down at the lake from the mountain of truth, Monte Verita, and just being compelled to dance and embody this natural setting. So I think that's a part of the Global Water Dance's legacy.
Global Water Dance's co-founder Karen Bradley, in her book about Laban, wrote, Ascona was a seed community in every sense of the word. With inspiration from nature, his students and colleagues, Laban developed methods based on spontaneous processes and an overall sense of design that was the fertile ground for what would be known as the new or expressionist dance. His summers dancing at the Lago Maggiore and on the Mountain of Truth resulted in the movement choir. Movement choirs drew on inspirational impulses, movement theory, and visual design structures. It was both devised and spontaneous, participatory and performative.
The choirs are developed with the spirit of some intention that is beyond the commercial realm. So historically, it's either been about workers' rights or workers' delight, a sense of recuperation from the workaday world.
Movement choirs live on today and make up the third section of every Global Water Dances event.
At Global Water Dances, we have designed a structure to support both the local creativity and the connection between dancers around the globe. The first section is the ritual, which is an opening action to introduce the audience to the event. The second section is called the local dance, where choreographers create their own movement to talk about the water issues in their own cities or towns. The third section is the global dance, which is performed to the same score of music and movement to create a sense of togetherness around the world. At the end, we have the participatory dance, where we invite the audience to dance with us, to celebrate and embody water, in order to have the urge to defend it and take action.
Following a movement score, which is performed by everyone participating in global water dances around the world, contributions are valued from each individual, and the result is a communal sense of identity.
It took us 2 years to get the first global water dance set up and running. And we were all separated from each other. Somebody was Minneapolis, there was Washington, D.C., New York City, Germany. And again, the internet helped us to connect with all our site leaders who were also scattered all over the United States, all over Europe, into Africa and Asia. It was the internet and our enthusiasm that helped us to get to know each other really well.
Also in 2008, I was finishing my master's in fine arts in dance, and my project was called Through the Distance. What I was trying to actually investigate was how people can stay in contact and be together, even if they are far away from each other.
Global Water Dances also provides an opportunity to learn about people's global water stories and how dance helps to make them visible.
Site leader Fernanda Rodriguez has been organizing the Global Water Dances since 2015.
Hoy se ha convertido en una herramienta muy poderosa para visibilizar la problemática del agua en nuestra región. Los caseríos de Motupe, los sectores rurales, utilizan el agua del subsuelo. No tenemos agua potable. Y eso nos llevó a pensar y descubrir de dónde viene el agua que usamos. Y esa agua venía de las serranías lambayecanas. Esto nos llevó a conocer a otros hermanos de las otras comunidades como Incahuasi y Cañaris, pueblos originarios que también tienen otras luchas que nos corresponden y a las que nos sumamos, porque ellos defienden el agua que nosotros posteriormente tomamos, defendiéndolos de las mineras. De esta forma hemos tenido que articular organizaciones, tanto de base local como organizaciones regionales, como las rondas campesinas, así como organizaciones femeninas como la Marcha Mundial de las Mujeres. Se invita a hermanos de otras comunidades que siguen estas luchas, que tienen y quieren visibilizar estas problemáticas.
In Bangladesh, the Bangshi River was the source of fresh water, fish, and many other livelihoods. However, now the Bangshi has become a chemical receiver as many industries discharge their chemical waste directly into the river. Now there are no fish for the local people. Professor and anthropologist Shahid Malik has been participating with Global Water Dances since 2013 and collaborating with choreographers, dancers, and students to raise awareness of these issues through site-specific dance.
If I got global water dances beside mine in a community people will accept the issue more lavishly. And I say this is true for all over the world. Without water, no one can survive.
tukola n'ebitongole ebyenjawulo okutumbula amaloboozi g'abavubuka ku bintu ebibakwata ku bulamu bwabwe.
For me, dance is a universal language. You don't have to speak any language to understand what it's about. And I think what this youth center did very well is to tell a story about the issues in the community through movement and through dance without saying one word. They still have a way to express themselves.
The event was rich and diverse. It included mostly young people using different styles of dance. And they actually made the dance about teaching people to boil their water before drinking it.
Amazzi makyafu kuno gatuleetera typhoid, gatuleetera ebintu ebikyafu ebitali birungi, abaana baddukana, abaana bakwatibwa endwadde kolera.
Olunaku olwaleero tuvuddeyo nga abavubuka bekawedde okukuza olunaku lw'amazzi nga tuyita mu kuzina. Tukikoze olw'okuba nga ebiseera ebisinga mu masomero gye tusomera tufunayo ekizibu ky'okuba nga tufuna amazzi nga bwe gagenda ku masomero oluusi tukaluubirizibwa nga tulina otambula engendo empanvu tusobole okugafuna, ate ng'amazzi bwe bulamu ffenna tukimanyi. Ewaka gye tuba twetaaga amazzi, mu masomero twetaaga amazzi, mu mirimu gy'okola weetaaga amazzi, ko omuntu aba talina amazzi tosobola kubeerawo. Batuyigirizaamu okulaba nga
obuyonjo bw'amazzi
n'okunywa amazzi amafu.
Engage.
I remember Flint, Michigan. They had so many water problems. They were required to use the water from the Flint River for their drinking and cooking and bathing.
The river itself is not polluted, like the water is fine. It's the infrastructure and the pipes that are polluted. So good water goes in and poisoned water comes out. And that's 100% man-made. Like that's 100% a sort of lack of respect for the water and what it's moving through. The relationship that the next generation has with water is also being polluted because of this same system.
There's also a connotation about just dependency on water bottles. How long is this going for? Who's got the water bottles? What happens to all the plastic? There was just that conversation as well.
One of the important things was that it allowed different people in the community to come together, where there was a shared experience around the water, but this allowed for a kind of shared conversations about it across different groups and generations.
Mostly, I heard the importance of de-victimization, of having a sense of agency, to looking at it from the artists and community members themselves.
The whole kind of bringing dance back to that space, or bringing moving bodies back to that space, to celebrate the water rather than to see the water as a victim or the people as a victim.
Leadership of the event was so shared. The flocking, parade, rotating leadership, choreography, student choreography, faculty choreography, community choreography across generations. It wasn't dependent on one person or one entity, but that it was enhanced by all of the voices and leadership.
The local creation and making of the dance is really important for each site. And just as it was important for Flint, so it was important in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
At this time, we need to pray for the health of our environment, in particular, the water. The life, culture, and strength of the Mi'kmaq people cannot be separated from the water. We embrace our connection to the lifeblood of Mother Earth and encourage all people to remember that water is sacred, and it is our responsibility to protect the water.
The piece is very loosely titled The River That Works. So often when we think about water, I think often the images that come to mind are of our blue crystal waters with the beaches, going off to the Caribbean. But if you look at the Shubenacadie River, the Shubenacadie River it's a brown river. It's an earthy river. When I look at it, I think that this is a river that works. This is a river that toils.
They sent researchers to come to our homes and ask us where we hunt, where we fish, where do we get our food and our medicines. All these places that we use in our traditional ways to map out the pipeline that they were going to bring this project through. 12 miles away from the river, they're building salt caverns. 10-story high office building sizes of caverns, a mile underground. And they're taking that salt from that formation. They're going to solution mine those caverns out with the river water. And then they're going to pipe it back down and dump it into the river. This is going to kill the whole ecosystem of the Shubenacadie River. Our people have been using that river for over 13,500 years. And it's really, really hurt that all the permits were given to this corporation before they consulted the Mi'kmaq people.
What do all these stories have in common? It is the right of people to have access to water. It is the right of water to be a resource for the people, not for the profiteers.
Para nosotros todo tiene espíritu. El árbol, la piedra, el río, la montaña. Tenemos que cuidar nuestro propio territorio. Es mío, mi cuerpo, mis aguas internas, mi palabra, mi pensamiento. Y estamos defendiendo algo sagrado, muy sagrado, que el hombre no ha podido entender. Es el agua. Nuestra fuente de agua no puede convertirse en caños. El río es sagrado.
Why are we here? We are here to tell a story about what? A story about what? How will we tell it? We will tell it to the world. Why should we tell it? We will tell it because water is life.
On this day, across the world in 100 locations in 5 continents, there are 4 movements being done, and so I'm going to teach them to you, and we will do them together.
If everybody speaks at the same moment, it just creates bedlam. However, if everybody moves together at the same time, that can create a sense of closeness and community. People will have a sense of shared purpose and empowered action.
I think dance changes things, like where dance has been changes spaces. So a space is changed by having dance and people move in it.
Dance art, for me, is really about creating something which has meaning and expression. And at the end, people go away and feel moved. So that the movement moves me.
La danza, el movimiento, ha sido una herramienta muy atractiva para hacer que el resto de la ciudadanía ponga sus ojos en el mensaje que se quiere dar, mensaje que es recogido de los comuneros, de los campesinos y las poblaciones rurales que viven una situación de vulnerabilidad sobre el recurso hídrico, ya sea escasez, contaminación, sobreexplotación.
What is Sanzema? Asema, fiona be anta Sanzema. Be andi joni fidi yam anno jogorteno. Be acca wat gol piji ɗi haɗata ɗin waɗugo changement on ko saare amen ɓe acca kuppugol piiji ɗin ko ladde ɓe acca waɗugol piiɗi waɗata ɗin ndiyam an ɗumannetaake ɓe acca ɗum ɗon ko ɗum waɗata men ɗuman ɗon ndiyam.
Through a sort of colonial history, dance has been where people have been able to remember themselves and in protecting their dances have been able to protect philosophies and worldviews of their cultures.
Mediante la Danza Mundial del Agua hemos logrado tomar conciencia y enseñar desde nuestros niños hasta los adultos mayores qué es lo que esperamos y queremos para unas comunidades sostenibles. Y sobre todo, seguir alzando nuestra voz sobre lo que ya no queremos que siga sucediendo. Y todo esto sin usar la violencia, sino a través del arte.
I love water because without water we cannot live.
Water is important because we use to drink, to shower. Without water we cannot survive.
Has anyone ever been in love? I invite us today to fall in love with water.
Without water, there's no life.
It's that spirit of wild abandon that may have begun at Ascona, but has grown into a worldwide celebration. It's a glorious dream, but one that acknowledges, as the poet Yeats once wrote, that in dreams begin responsibility. It's not enough to dream, we have to act. And through global water dances, we take the first steps by dancing. We watch trained dancers moving, and we in the audience start to move too. To dance like this is to learn how to act, not just by creating awareness of local ecological problems, but by tapping into that power within us, both physical and spiritual, to change, to grow, to create a better world, not just for ourselves, but for our children, who join in the global water dance too, and continue it into a better and brighter future.
Dance that I want to teach you. Everybody, wherever you are, just join us. 5, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4. Here we go. Just join us.
And the rainbow blazer, and it's sunshine. And the river goes up, yes! And the clouds go up, yes! And the rainbow.
The water goes up. Inhale, and the water goes down. Exhale, and the bubble comes in. Inhale, and the water goes out. And again,
El agua, la cual cura el espíritu y te hace despertar cada día con más ímpetu, con fuerza, con resistencia y con paciencia. Hoy es el día y esta sea la evidencia. Cuida el agua por los niños y también por el futuro, porque esto es un tesoro, claro, yo te lo aseguro.